Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
What is the right thing to say to someone who has lost a baby? We know we struggle to find the right words, but sometimes that means things don't get talked about at all. Antoinette Sandbach is an MP who you may remember made a very emotional speech in Parliament about her son who died at 5 days old from sudden death syndrome. She, along with another MP, Will Quince, will lead a debate later this morning in the House of Commons to highlight the need for more help for bereaved mothers. She made a film for this programme about the effects on a mother whose baby dies in the womb or at birth. If you have young children in the room, please be aware we will be discussing this distressing subject for the next few minutes. Here's a reminder of Antoinette's story.
I called the number for the Chrysalis charity and they organised counselling for me. That counselling was a lifeline, and I owe a huge debt of gratitude to John from the Alder Centre at Alder Hay Hospital, as there was no counselling available in North Wales. I was overwhelmed by the response from members of the public, and I wanted to go out and see what the issues were facing other parents in the same situation as me. I'm on my way to meet a mum who lost her baby at 11 weeks and to see what her experience was of bereavement care.
Boo! What else have we got? Some bricks. Yeah.
The hospital were great. The day that she passed away was amazing. They cleared the whole ward and they brought a sofa in and she was with us. After that, we did a little footprint. Yeah. And cleaned her and wrapped her in a blanket.
And did they give you a memory box?
They gave us a memory box, yeah, which was lovely. But as soon as we'd left the hospital, there was nothing there. Mm. I rang an organisation who gave me 5 or 6 numbers of local charities, local organisations to speak to. And I rang them, and every time I had to tell the story, which was painful, more than painful at that time. But I had 5 no's, and it was horrendous. And I went through the story every time, and I remember coming downstairs and telling my family and just being mortified. I was so upset because I just needed this support very early, and I was getting no, no, no because she was too old, too young, didn't die of the right thing. It was just horrendous, really horrendous.
And in terms of the difference of before you got professional counselling and afterwards, what kind of difference did that make to you emotionally?
Well, it was huge really, because Isabel died on the 3rd of January. I saw somebody, I think, middle to the end of March. And she was fantastic. But in that period, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know, I needed a guidance, basically, of how to do this. And then as soon as I saw her, she had almost mapped it out like a structure and said, this is what you may feel, this is what you may not. I told her what I was feeling. She said, that's normal, that's fine. And it was like a huge relief. And if only I'd had that at the beginning, it was still a painful time, but that took the burden off a little bit because I could understand what I was feeling. She made me understand what I was feeling. Isabel was very like Mark, my husband. Features the same, really. And Emily was very like me.
I remember Sam had very big feet. I thought he's definitely going to be in the Welsh rugby team.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? It is lovely. It's all those things are just lovely memories.
They're what we have.
Yeah.
Well, that was Antoinette with your very powerful film, Antoinette, that you did for us a little while ago. I'm pleased to say that Antoinette is here with us again today and is, of course, one of the Conservative MPs launching the debate today in the Commons. We're also joined by Chloe Nicholson, whose daughter Phoebe Quinn was stillborn last month, and Ruth Rullan, who is pregnant with twin girls but knows one of them will be stillborn. Thank you all very much for coming in to talk about, obviously, a very difficult subject to talk about. Antoinette, you've done an amazing thing with what you've said about your own personal experiences, and it's extraordinary actually that today it is going to be something that will be discussed in the Commons.
Yeah, we've got a 3-hour debate, which will be a cross-party debate, to talk about all forms of child loss, whether it's miscarriage, ectopic pregnancy. Any MP can come along and talk about good practice, what's working or what's not working in their constituency, or their own experiences or the experience of their constituents.
It's obviously not the sort of thing that normally gets discussed in the Commons. Have you come across many fellow MPs who have personal experience?
Yes, I think Patricia Gibson, the Scottish National Party MP, had a debate on stillbirth quite recently. She lost her child to stillbirth. There are many MPs that have suffered child loss, and some of them want to talk about it, others don't. But we are part of the statistics, and it's so common. And really, we've set up an all-party group that is working to try and identify some of the causes, call for better prevention, and are trying to work with the Department of Health to try and reduce the kind of numbers that we're seeing.
Ruth and Chloe, you're both going through it right now. I mean, Ruth, you're 32 weeks pregnant, and you know that one of your babies is going to be stillborn. Chloe, just a month ago, you gave birth to a stillborn child. Why is it that you want to talk about it right now?
I think, firstly, I'm still very proud to be Phoebe Quinn's mum, so I want to talk about her. But secondly, I've also had a lot of people come to me as well and tell me that they've been through it, or they've had miscarriage or infant loss, and I never even knew. It's sort of, you know, all these people, and you don't actually know that they've lost children as well, and it's so much more common than I ever realised, even throughout my whole pregnancy.
People suffering in silence.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd hate to feel like that myself.
Well, I think there's a massive taboo about talking about it, and that's one of the reasons why we're having the debate. And actually, this week is Baby Loss Awareness Week, and we want to break that culture of silence around child loss. I think it's so important.
And Ruth, as I mentioned, you are carrying twins, and you know one of them is going to be stillborn.
We were told very early on that with identical twins there's much more risks. Things like twin-to-twin syndrome and other things I'd never heard of before, you suddenly learn a lot about. And we were told early on that at least one of our twins might not make it throughout the pregnancy. And when her heartbeat stopped at 29 weeks, I still thought she was alive because my other twin is still kicking and moving, and I thought it was both of them. So even though you're told, it's still a shock. But you obviously are pregnant and look pregnant, and people naturally come and talk to you and ask how it's going, and we've told people that we're having twins, and now we've had to say no, we're not, and that's very hard.
Devastating.
But I want to talk
about it. How did you come to terms with actually being able to have that conversation, because it's something so hard for you to deal with, so raw, and you, as you say, because of the fact you've been telling people about the pregnancy, you're obliged to talk about it.
You're obliged to talk about it. It's things like I told the guy at the fish and chip shop who gives me extra portions because I'm pregnant with twins. And now, you know, he keeps saying, is everything all right? And you say, well, yeah, because I don't want to go into it at the fish and chip counter. But I do want to talk about it because people will see me with a baby who won't know that I was pregnant with twins as well, and they will assume that everything was fine. And I'll be grieving the loss of my baby at the same time as trying to celebrate the fact that we hopefully will have a healthy baby. And I don't know how I feel about that, so I don't know how other people expect me to feel about that. And some days, like now, I can talk about it fine, and another time I wouldn't want to talk about it at all. And it's difficult for me to say how people should approach that because I don't know myself and I'm the one going through it. But there are thousands of mums, twins, triplets, quadruplets who are expecting many babies and only end up with one or none.
And Chloe, that's obviously exactly what you have just gone through very recently. Everybody knows you're pregnant, and then devastatingly you give birth to a stillborn child, and you can't not talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite open when I found out that her heart had stopped beating, and sort of there was like my family and friends close around me. I actually went into labour quite early on. But I had a lot of people messaging me saying, oh, when we haven't heard from you in a while, is the baby coming? Shall we come and see you? So I was quite open about it on my Facebook in sort of saying it. It was never quite the birth announcement I ever expected to make, but I'm still glad that I did it. Like I say, from that I had a lot of people come forward who have also been through it in some sense.
How did people react?
I have had a lot of support. There's people have unfriended me on stuff on Facebook as well.
People have unfriended you because of this, you think?
Yeah, I think some of them even wished me well and then unfriended me. I think it's not even a case that sometimes it's a case that people don't care. I think it's because it's so awful they think that they've got to block it out and ignore it, and that you must want to forget about it as well, because of what the situation that it is.
And you're all nodding at that. Is that, have you all experienced this?
I think that's very common. And I think there was one member of Parliament that said her friends crossed the street because they didn't know what to say to her, so they would walk away from her rather than talk to her about her experience of stillbirth. And I think...
Did you experience that yourself?
I was living in rural North Wales, so I was quite isolated anyway. But it's very often just saying, I'm so sorry for your loss, or just saying, how are you? Which then leaves the door open to for you either to say, oh, I'm fine, which really means I don't want to talk about it, or then go on to talk about it. And I think that's where the professional support is so important, and I'm really glad that both Ruth and Chloe have got bereavement-trained midwives, because that is not a universal experience, and it's something that very much can help parents.
And is that literally as simple as you would both like the response to be from people, just for someone to say, how are you, and leave it to you whether you want to talk or not?
Yeah, I think I've had people on either extreme, one who said how awful and gone on and on about how awful it is, when actually at the time I'm doing okay, and I don't want to feel awful, I want to just feel normal and get on with life. And another one where someone said, oh, well, at least you've got the healthy baby, you must be really excited. I thought, well, I guess I should be excited, but I don't feel excited. I want the birth to happen, but I don't, because I want to meet my girls. But I don't want to accept that now she's gone.
Of course. So what would you say if somebody is watching and they want to know what to say? Because nobody wants to upset somebody, but the fact is,
absolutely,
it happens.
I think you have to accept that people are going to be upset. And it's not you that's causing the upset, it's the situation. Yeah. And if they cry, it's allowing them to cry and not feeling awful. I don't think there's a magic line, but I think there's just being willing to talk about it, but also being willing to accept that I might not want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Well, saying something is better than saying nothing. That's for sure. Sort of like ignoring the fact that someone has been through it or that they've had a child. It's better to say something. But yeah, simple is best.
Well, hopefully people watching at home, and you know, will find obviously everything that you're saying very very helpful to hear, because people don't know what to say. And we've actually had a tweet from Aching Arms UK saying brilliant see coverage of the baby loss debate this morning. Thank you to Antoinette for sharing your experiences. Thank you to all of you. What support have you had? What support are you having right now, Ruth?
So I've had a lot of support from the consultants I'm seeing at UCH. Mr. Wimalasandra is brilliant, and they're twin specialists, so they are very used to, unfortunately, dealing with this in their line of work, and they prepared me for a long time, and they've offered me to meet the bereavement midwife in advance of the birth so that we can plan making memories. But they've also warned me what to expect, that things like taking footprints and photos may not be as nice, because my baby passed away at 29 weeks. If she was born then, it should have looked different to how she'll look at 38 weeks because of how things are in the womb. But they've offered me counselling, and they've offered me their support as well, so they've been fantastic. Been really lucky.
Chloe, you've gone through it so very recently.
Yeah.
What would you say to Ruth? Have you got anything that you can offer her?
Use the bereavement midwives and sort of charities, and just use everything that you can and stay connected. But memories, definitely. And however awful a moment it is, and you can build it up, it's still a beautiful moment. You still get to meet your baby and see them, and you know, you get to touch and hold them and stuff, and that's so special. And those memories mean a lot. Quite lucky to have a bereavement midwife and things in place to help you to make the memories, and just get as many as you can, take photos. And that's what you can do.
I think it's really encouraging that you have had that support of a bereavement midwife, and you will get it. And you know, it's good to hear you talking about the consultants, because actually there's a lot of good practice out there. What's happening in the NHS isn't being shared, and it is absolutely vital that that good practice is shared in other hospitals, so that mums and dads aren't left to fend for themselves, and that is happening in some cases.
Snooder's tweeted, say, 3 incredibly courageous women. Love to you all. Absolutely echo that. Tweet from Simple Gardener. Amazing women talking about baby loss, such strength. Tweet from Mel, so emotional. Brave women talking about baby loss and grieving. Must make it okay to talk about it so that parents can be supported. And tweet from Colin, excellent discussion on Victoria Live with Antoinette and those very brave women about infant death and bereavement. Thank you all very much for coming in, and lots of love to you all. Thank you. Thank you.
I've been getting away with it all